Foxes are an American band from Seattle. They were formed in 2006 and had a career break between 2013 and 2016. They were formed by two friends who went to high school together, and they gained a following through MySpace before they had any released albums or recordings, in fact, I believe. Since then, they have had some. They've had 4 studio albums so far, and they've mostly had a stable membership, although sometimes they've not had a drummer. I believe they had a tour drummer who went on tour with them who wasn't officially part of the band. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the third album by Fleet Foxes, and it's... I'm not quite sure what it is. It's kind of hard to categorize in some ways. Maybe the term progressive folk works best. Maybe it's even kind of dream folk. It's kind of got some elements of dream pop in it, I guess. I'll try and explain what I'm talking about. I would definitely say it's quite a unique sound. I'm not sure I've heard anybody else who sounds quite like this. So there's definitely a kind of acoustic feel to it. There's a lot of acoustic guitars in here. They're not just acoustic guitars. There are electric guitars as well. And sometimes there's this kind of setup of a big kind of mass background of strumming, which sounds like there's many versions of either the same thing or several different instruments being played and overdubbed at the same time. Interestingly, I have just the previous review to this was Glenn Branca, and in some ways very different, but in some ways quite similar. This kind of thick, multi-tracked, multi-guitar, multi-instrument background has got a kind of similar feel in some ways. Sometimes the music here is quite complex. There's some odd chord switches. There's some, that you don't expect. There's some odd chord structures. There's some odd song structures as well in here. There are bits of elements of sound effects, or kind of making it feel like it's in a place at times. And the singing, again, this is another place where it's definitely feels quite unusual and unique. There's close harmony, and there's a particular sound to the singing that I have no way of describing because I'm not very good at describing voices. The production, I would say, is quite like dream pop at times, in that there's a lot of reverb and it kind of feels like it's distant and spacious. As a result, I found it hard to concentrate on the words. I often do in anything that's in this kind of space. And the whole thing feels quite contemplative. So I have this thing about music that I think that some music is obviously body music. So it's music that appeals to the body, and that's usually kind of dancey, beaty stuff. Okay. And there's some music that definitely kind of appeals to the heart. So I'd say that quite a bit of the more beautiful classical music is stuff that makes you go, oh, yes, that's amazing. There's definitely music that appeals to the head, and progressive stuff often is that, progressive rock. I'm not sure if this is that. I kind of want to insert an extra category here of maybe music that appeals to the soul. I'm not really sure what I mean, but the reason I'm saying this is because as a whole, as an album, when you listen to it, I found that I didn't kind of listen in a great deal of concentration, but I felt like it was kind of washing over me, and it felt like a kind of washing effect to it. So anyway, take that or leave it, form your own opinions. I can see why they've caused a reasonable amount of stir. I am aware that they're well thought of. So in particular in the UK, back before I was reviewing, I used to listen to BBC Radio 2, and there was one of the presenters there, Joe Wiley, had a show in which she really kind of championed some fairly unusual people who are a little bit out of the ordinary. It's definitely championing people like Florence and the Machine was one of her favourites, but also Fleet Foxes seemed to come up quite a lot when I used to listen to her show. And I can see why, because there's kind of a different feel to it, there's a different approach. So, yeah, it's somewhat interesting. I would say I haven't got a favourite track here. I feel like my favourite response to this would be to put it on the background and just let it happen as a whole. The and I say I didn't really pick up on the words very much, but there was one track that I noticed was the name of it, and some of the words were, "If you need to, keep time on me," and I didn't know what that meant, which made me kind of curious. Ultimately, like I said in the last video, the numbers that I'm going to give the scores are going to be about how much I enjoyed it rather than about how much respect I have for it. And I think ultimately this album, I have more respect than I actually liked it. It was okay as a listening experience, but I didn't get hugely excited in that sense. But I can see why they're well thought of, and I can see that they are different, and that so I have respect for the way they've approached stuff. Anyway, that's my opinion, and I'd love to hear what yours is. So please don't be shy. Please talk to me through the comments box. That's it from me for now.